And we'll go around the room, starting over to my left. Everybody introduce themselves, please.
I'm Mayor Adrian Petrola, St. Pete Beach.
Max McCann, St. Petersburg.
Barbara Hazelden, Citizen appointee, County Commission.
Okay, and nobody on Zoom. All right. So next item is public comment. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. All right. So we'll go right into agenda item 3, which is action items. Do I have a motion to approve the January 21st, 2026 minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, next item is the PSA's New Vision 2030 Strategic Plan. Trish Collins is going to talk to us about that.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Trish Collins. I'm the Director of Human Resources here at PSTA. And I'm here to proudly present the draft of the Vision 2030 Strategic Plan for the agency. You have in your hot little hands a first draft that we have now shared with the Executive Committee a couple of weeks ago. And we're bringing to this committee today for discussion. I know it's on the agenda as an action item, but really we'd like to propose this as an informational item to be able to share it with you and leave you time to share your input with us.
Okay.
We also brought this draft plan to our Transit Riders Advisory Committee meeting, our TRAC committee yesterday, and shared with them the road ahead for us for the next 5 years as an agency. And then the final step for this plan will be to bring it to the board at the end of the month, where we would love to propose it as an action item to garner approval from the board and move forward. This is a plan that defines our next 5 years, the high-level initiatives and projects that coalesce around the 3 main priorities that we have heard from the board. This will allow us to make sure that our projects, our budget, our capital improvement plan, and our performance counts scorecard, which also influences our employee performance reviews, that all of those things, all of the efforts of the agency are aligned and driving towards the things that we have heard from you, the board, are the most important. You may recall this process started last spring in a series of 2 budget workshops that we conducted with the board as we prepared for the FY26 budget. We solicited your thoughts and ideas about the things that we ought to focus on most strongly as an agency. And all of that feedback coalesced around these 3 key priorities: financial responsibility, operational excellence, and community impact. And so the plan includes specific projects and initiatives that are related to each of those 3 priorities. I'd like, if I could, to direct your attention, and we'll take a quick high-level walk through what's in the plan, beginning with the first strategic priority of financial responsibility. You will find that on page 6, with a page that looks like this: project list and financial responsibility up at the top. The projects in this list include things that are designed to increase our revenue and our ridership. So for example, initiatives to increase our UPass partnerships with entities around the county, as well as ideas and projects that will help us increase our advertising revenue so that we can be less dependent on tax revenue. This section also includes projects that are designed to help us maintain the assets that we have and be financially responsible with those assets. So it includes things that are designed to help our state of good repair, like constructing new bus bays at Largo Terminal and Countryside Mall, and the upkeep of the assets that we have in place already. And third, in this financial responsibility section, you'll see projects and initiatives that are designed to help us improve our analysis and our decision-making process. For example, doing a deep dive analysis of our contracted services financials to really analyze those contracts and ensure that they're optimized for PSTA's best interest. Moving forward in the plan a little bit, if you'll turn to page 8, you'll see the section with projects and initiatives related to operational excellence. This section focuses on our services and also on our big capital projects. So in here, you'll see projects and initiatives that are related to our Clearwater Station construction, new premium transit services along Alt 19, and a new route that would go from downtown St. Pete directly to the Tampa International Airport. You'll see projects related to completing an RFP for our mobility on demand services, and also things that are related to safety and security, including safety on the bus, like using new technologies to reduce collisions on the bus, and things like cybersecurity for the safety and security of our information systems. Finally, if you turn to page 12, you'll see the third priority contained in the plan, which is community impact. And this is where we're looking at projects that both relate to our internal workforce and also to the larger impact that we have on the community. So in here, you'll see projects like implementing a new recruiting and onboarding strategy to make sure we're attracting the best and brightest of the county to come and work for us, as well as demonstrating changes based on last year's employee engagement survey so that we can continue to keep our workforce and our workplace strong. And things like working with the city of St. Pete to make sure that the new gas plant development is going to include transportation-oriented development so that we can have multimodal transit there to serve people that will be utilizing the redevelopment in that area. So what happens next? As I said, we're doing a world tour, bringing the details of this plan to the executive committee, to this committee, to our track committee. We'll be bringing it again to the board at the end of the month. We are soliciting your comments and feedback. This roadmap that plans projects for the next 5 years is designed to reflect your priorities. So we invite you to take a close look through it, scrutinize it. Everything we've talked about doing is in this plan, and we want to make sure that it reflects the vision that you have for the agency so that we're following your roadmap for the next 5 years. Once this plan is eventually adopted, it will be the basis for the spring workshops to design our budget for FY27. And also it will become the basis for our performance scorecard and for the performance reviews that occur throughout the agency. So with that, I realize that was a pretty high-level overview, but I'd love to take any discussion or comments, questions that you may have now as we move forward into the last stages of developing this plan.
Does anybody have any questions on this? I mean, you're gonna give us time to go through this, digest it, and then
Yes, sir.
there'll be another meeting where we can come back with questions and then approve it?
Yes, sir. We'll be bringing it back to the board at the end of this month and welcome a full discussion at that time.
Okay.
Next week?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So then is this an action item or an information item?
It's on the agenda today as an action item, but we proposed just having it as an informational item because you need time to read it.
And I encourage all of you to follow Commissioner Scott's model and email Trish any comments you might have.
Yeah, well,
He did that.
yeah, that would be the best, and then you can get those ahead of time of the next. This isn't gonna come back to us in the planning committee, it's just gonna go directly to the board.
Well, our plan is to bring it to the board at that time if there's still a need for discussion and further maybe changes to it, then we can bring it back to this committee for discussion
Okay,
next month.
I understand.
Yeah.
So next month it'll come back.
You know, I think probably what we'll do is have Trish present it as informational item at the board meeting next next week,
Yeah,
and then probably not ask for a vote, have a vote in March.
in March, okay.
Yeah.
Cause I'm sure everybody else wants to look through it and we'll have
Certainly.
questions.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have a comment. So last year during the budget process, the workshops, it seemed like that a lot of this was the basis of the workshop was coming up with a strategic plan, so to speak. I'm suggesting that this year in the budget workshop that we actually talk about the budget and the numbers and the different departments and, their budgets and how it all comes together. That was comment. That's kind of the feeling I had after that was over last year, was that we really need to dive this year, more into the actual numbers.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and that's why I'm happy with the strategic plan as we've now fleshed it out. I mean, last year we were just starting.
Yeah.
Started getting the high level priorities, and then, because I definitely have heard, not often, but sometimes I hear from PSA board members like that they don't a project or initiative surprised them. That they didn't know about something that was going on at PSA. So now there should be no surprises.
Right.
I mean, this, and all the staff is telling me they know that if it's not in the strategic plan, they're not gonna work on it. There's nothing, obviously new things will come up and issues will come up, but this is the roadmap. And then yeah, now I feel like we have a better chance, we have a better opportunity to kind of go into the details of the numbers on these project costs, these initiatives, and what the departments are doing. Yeah. Great.
okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the Cutter Master Agreement with Christopher Cochran.
Good morning, committee members. Name's Chris Cochran. I'm a senior project manager in the PMO office. And I am, I guess I don't have a slide. I'm bringing an action item before you today with a recommendation to approve for the approval of a research and technical assistance master agreement between PSTA and the University of South Florida Board of Trustees through Cutter for an initial term of 3 years, and authorize the CEO to exercise a 1 5-year option for a total term not to exceed 8 years and a total amount not to exceed $300,000. This is a partnership that is not new to PSTA. We partnered with Cutter in the past. Cutter is a extremely valuable resource for the agencies in the region, for agencies throughout Florida, and for research in our field throughout the nation. Essentially how this contract would work is that we would be able to issue task orders not to exceed $50,000 at a time, and throughout the term of this entire availability of the contract, it would never be able to exceed $300,000 cumulatively. It would be available to essentially any department within PSTA. One of some of the great value resources that they've provided in the past is for safety, transit operations, and helping us in analyzing our operations compliance. They're very strong at. And again, they're just a great resource to have. So again, bringing this as an action item to recommend the approval of the research and technical assistance master agreement between PSTA and the USF Board of Trustees through Qatar for an initial term of 3 years, and authorize the CEO to exercise the 1 5-year option for a total term not to exceed 8 years with a cumulative amount not to exceed $300,000. Any questions?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
let me just go through this again. So the 300,000, would that be for the 8 years or just the 3 years?
It would be it would be cumulative up to 8 years. If we chose to exercise the entire, any time beyond the 3 years and there was still money available out of that 300,000.
I see, so 300,000 is it, whether it goes 3 or
Yes.
8 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
It's just an option for PSDA, and because I think the way, our great engineering partners that work for private firms don't really like us using Qatar, USF, because it's basically low-cost grad school students and students doing the work. It's a tool.
It's a tool, a
Save money.
benefit, definitely a benefit.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
okay, no questions? Okay. Well, this is an action item. Do I have a motion to recommend approval of the agreement?
So moved.
Second? Anyone? Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll do informational items, review of St. Pete's CRA mobility study with Nicole Dufa.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Planning Committee, board members. My name is Nicole Dufa, the Director of Planning and Scheduling here at PSTA. And I'm excited to be here today to present to you an update on the South St. Pete Community Redevelopment Area Mobility Study. And so this study, let me go ahead. I want to first start by thanking a few of our board members who have been actively engaged in this project. I know that our board chair is not here today, Councilmember Deborah Fix Sanders, but also Commissioner Max McCann have been both really engaged in this project, and we're really grateful and for your support. And I think that your engagement has been critical in the project's success. So to start with this project, at least one of you might have been here back in 2023 when PSTA was awarded this grant from the Federal Transit Administration under the Areas of Persistent Poverty Grant Program. The Areas of Persistent Poverty Grant Program was designed to award transit agencies funding to study mobility improvements in census-designated low-income areas. And so this is why PSTA was the awardee of the grant program as a transit agency. But really this project was in partnership with our wonderful partners in the city of St. Pete, as well as the CRA itself. The project had a local match for the grant program. We had $360,000 awarded from the FTA, and then the local match was shared by PSTA, the city of St. Pete, as well as the Florida Department of Transportation. After hearing a lot of feedback from the Sunrunner Transit-Oriented Development Study that we had initiated and completed in 2020 to 2022, we heard a lot from folks and residents in the CRA specifically about connectivity to transit and improving mobility conditions within the CRA. And so that was one of the reasons that we really wanted to focus on the CRA under this grant program. And because of that lack of connectivity in the CRA, this project is really designed to focus on improving walking, biking, and access to public transit, specifically within South St. Pete CRA neighborhoods. And ultimately, while we were awarded this grant and have led this study, the results of this study actually are for the city and the CRA to implement. So the project recommendations that come out of this study are not going to be owned by us because we do not do infrastructure projects for the city. It'll actually ultimately be up to them to implement. For those who are not as familiar with the CRA, here is a map of the boundaries of the CRA, generally in South St. Pete here, 49th Street to the west, 4th Street to the east, about 30th Avenue South to the south, and then 2nd Avenue to the north, as well as along the interstate here. The CRA is actually one of the largest in the state of Florida. It is a huge area, and back in 2022, the CRA implemented their Commercial Corridors program. This Commercial Corridor program is actually designed to fund infrastructure projects and spur economic development along these commercial corridors by looking at projects that are recommended in planning studies. And so you can see here that the commercial corridors are highlighted within the CRA. You have 49th Street, 34th Street, Central Avenue, 5th Ave South, 18th Avenue South, and so on, 22nd Street, 16th Street. And so a lot of the focus area for some of the projects that are included in the plan recommendations are specifically along the commercial corridors in order for them to have a chance at being funded under the CRA budget. For the South St. Pete CRA specifically, they've had a lot of planning studies and efforts over the years, and we really wanted to focus a huge part of the project on engagement. We wanted to hear directly from residents and business owners in the CRA what they would like to see, or what are the challenges that they're facing and what they would like to see. And so we had 3 different phases of the project, and the first phase was really focused on discovery. What are you experiencing today? What are the challenges that you're facing? So the engagement that we completed during this phase, which began at the end of 2023 into 2024 through the summer, we had two pop-up events and 7 listening sessions where we reached actually and talked to over 300 people throughout all of these events that we hosted and or participated in. And so we had some really robust input from residents and business owners on what they're experiencing today. Phase 2 was really focusing on visioning and planning. What would you like to see? What are some things that are important to you? Is it bus stops and shelters? Is it crosswalk improvements? Filling sidewalk gaps? You know, in some parts of the CRA, you can still walk along a sidewalk and then all of a sudden it ends. And really, what we know and why this is important to PSTA is all transit riders are pedestrians. You have to walk to get to a bus stop. If you're a bicyclist, PSTA transit riders can also be bicyclists. So bike safety and pedestrian safety is really important for accessing transit safely as well. We had 3 different workshops that we hosted in early last year, where we really wanted to hear from residents what sort of ideas and improvements they would like to see. Additionally, we did more than just those workshops. We had mobile tours as well. We had a bus tour, a walking tour, as well as a bike tour. As you can see, we had some really robust participation for those tours from TRAC members as well as board members, as you can see here in this photo. I will be the first in line as soon as Commissioner McCann starts selling those t-shirts that he's wearing in this photo. And then additionally, after the walking tours, biking tours, as well as the workshops, we had an online map survey. So we really wanted to capture geographically where folks were seeing some of these issues. It can be easy to talk about like, oh, sidewalks are a problem or crosswalks were a problem, but where exactly do you see those issues? So we used an online mapping tool that we broadcasted throughout the workshops and throughout the tours, as well as posted QR codes up and around the CRA, promoted it on social media as well, to get feedback from folks directly about where some of these issues are located. So as you can see here, we got feedback across the CRA, heavily focused on the commercial corridors, and we had a lot of comments about improving crosswalks, sidewalks, some comments about unsafe traffic speeds or unsafe walking or biking. So we really saw the gamut of concerns that folks had about walking and getting around the CRA. And really, we received about 350 unique comments through this online map survey. And then our final phase are focused on projects and priorities. Ultimately, what projects do you want to see emerge out of this study, and what do you want to see funded after the mobility study is complete? So we had these priority workshops where we refined some of those project ideas, where we took a look at where we were seeing some issues. We had heavy feedback on the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street South Corridor, 18th Avenue South Corridor, where we saw folks really hone in on projects that they'd like to see implemented in those areas. And so this workshop that was completed at the end of last year really helped narrow that focus down on what ultimately in our final phase through this whole project is understanding what should be what should get concept design. So the last part of this project priority list is identifying a handful of projects that could get a 10% engineering design. That really helps kickstart the project implementation. If you have this 10% design, then the CRA can really pick that up and keep that moving through implementation, through the ability to get to construction. Another part of the workshops that we had here was a survey on what's the most important. We didn't really want folks to rank every single thing, like this is more important than this, but what types of improvements did you want to see the most? And we really saw adding crosswalks, fixing sidewalks, and improving lighting. I think that was another area that we saw really emerge, especially around bus stops and walking to bus stops, improving the lighting in those areas to increase safety. So some of those key messages that I was touching on, really broad support for improving the sidewalks and crosswalks, concerns about traffic speeds, but really also because of the previous plans that have been done before, the 49th Street Safe Streets Study, the 18th Avenue South Complete Street Study, the Downtown Mobility Study, they really wanted to see these projects also get funded. So there's a whole slew of projects that I don't believe made it into the board packet. I think we had some ADA accessibility issues on the PDF. But at the board meeting, you will have the full list of project recommendations because they're all encompassing of projects that we found and heard from residents through this mobility study process, but also from the previous plans that have been completed as well. And so ultimately this is important because once the CRA is able to adopt this plan, then they can fund those projects under their budget. And so the list of recommendations is broken out into 3 different categories. Projects that are focused that came out of the mobility study, and then really looking at the priority corridors and making sure that our corridors have projects that are prioritized in the plan. So you can see here in the heat map, a lot of comments came back on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street, as well as other areas. I think that's 22nd Street. And this also can coincide with some of our bus stop usage. So you'll see here in this area, we do have a lot of robust ridership in that area compared to the comments that we received. And so here's an example of 2 of the early design concepts for the city to consider in the CRA funding program. So these are at Dr. Martin Luther King Street South, at 10th Avenue South, improving and adding crosswalks, and these are right by PSTA bus stops. And we have several routes that serve this street here that all either head south or head west from this location. And you'll see this one, so this is this is north this way. Oh, where's my? North on this side. And then this one here is at 18th Avenue South as well. So you'll see we have at least 4 projects that we've been able to get 10% design engineering drafts began. And really the next steps are, so present this at the PSTA board as an update, but really the city needs to take action. So they're planning on bringing this to a St. Pete City Council committee, and then for formal adoption through the CRA. And then right now, the city actually has budgeted about $750,000 in the CRA budget, using the funds under the CRA, to fund the projects that have design work already completed. So they'll be able to get all of the projects through the 4 projects through 100% design. And then depending on how much is left over after that process, they'll be able to at least start construction. And then with the ability to budget for the next year for that construction as well. So really, this mobility study was designed to help kickstart actual implementation of projects rather than just be a plan again. So they'll be adopted and then allocate funding as the CRA decides. And so I could not have done this project, so it's funny, I brought this project back in 2023 for board approval, but then I actually left right after that and went to WSP, an engineering firm, and I've now come back and I get to take all the credit for the work that's been done. But really, it's the city staff as well as our planning staff, Jacob Labuca, who helped keep this project going while I was gone. And so you'll see here, so Cheryl Stacks and Cassidy Mutnansky at the city in the planning, the transportation department and economic development department. So with that, any questions? Yes.
I have a question. I like the plan, but the sidewalks, we're not talking about, you said something about missing sidewalks and broken sidewalks?
Yeah, sidewalk gaps, broken sidewalks, yes,
I
yes,
mean,
sir.
that should be City of St. Petersburg fixing those anyway for liability reasons, right?
That is a really good point, absolutely. I know that that's something, because they're within the CRA, I don't know if the city's like, okay, well, the CRA budget can fund that or not. A staff member, Cheryl Stacks, will be here on, at the board meeting next Wednesday, and she can help answer any of those questions about city responsibility versus CRA responsibility and funding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
I just want to clarify for anybody who doesn't already know, the CRA projects, correct me if I'm wrong, are funded through tax increment financing from the appreciation on properties within the CRA. So it's a way to use some of that money to invest back into the community and improve things in an area that's been historically underserved. So
Yes.
it's a really cool project. Thanks for the presentation.
Absolutely, thank you.
okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, it has on here, it's not an action item, it's just an informational item, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now we'll go to ridership and performance with Devin Deal.
Yes. Good morning, Planning Committee. My name is Devin Deal, Planning and Data Analyst Manager. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Sunrunner. We implemented some changes in our Connected Community Bus Network in October, and since those changes, we've really seen a large rebound in ridership and an increase in ridership on the Sunrunner. I'm going to go into some of those details today. So first of all, for those of you who may not be familiar, this is our Sunrunner route. It starts in St. Pete Beach at St. Pete Beach Access, travels up. We have a station at our UPass partner at Tradewinds, and then the route travels all the way through the city of St. Petersburg, connects with Grand Central, where you can connect with about 10 of our bus routes, and then travels through to downtown St. Petersburg to another UPass partner at USF St. Pete, and another major transfer location where you can connect to a dozen of our bus routes, and then St. Pete Pier, and then does the reverse. And so what you see here is the last 3 fiscal years of ridership on the Sunrunner by month. Fiscal year 24 is in green, fiscal year 25 is in red, and fiscal year 26 is in blue. You can see that we have had the highest 4 consecutive months of ridership on the Sunrunner since actually spring break 2024. So March, April, May, June 2024, which are historically our peak seasons, the highest ridership that we see system-wide. Our Sunrunner has, this is the highest 4 consecutive months of ridership we've seen since spring break fiscal year 24. We have had about a 20% increase compared to the same months last year, as well as the same months in fiscal year 24. And Sunrunner is actually now our highest ridership route in our entire system with the changes that we've made in the Connected Community Bus Network. And so people are riding all over the entire route. What you see here is the highest ridership stops where the most people are getting off of that bus. You can see our first and our third highest ridership stops are Grand Central, where you can connect to about 10 of our bus routes. They will get you to South St. Petersburg, to Clearwater, all over Pinellas County. You also see a lot of really high ridership stops in downtown St. Petersburg. Number 2 being another major transfer location where you can connect to a dozen of our bus routes in the system, as well as a few other stops kind of dispersed throughout downtown, the pier, and other northern downtown locations. And then 3 of our 10 highest ridership stops are in St. Pete Beach. You see the 6th highest ridership stop is at Beach Access. The 10th highest ridership stop is our UPass partner at Tradewinds. And actually our 4th highest ridership stop is at Boca Ciega Drive, both where you can solicit the businesses there, and that offers a connection for our riders who may be working along Gulf Boulevard to the Suncoast Beach Trolley that can take you all the way north through to Clearwater Beach. You also see here this kind of random station in the middle of West St. Pete. At the 58th Street South Station, you can connect to Route 66 that brings you from Gulfport to the Sunrunner, as well as to Route 18 that would take you to downtown Clearwater. So we see a really good dispersion of what would be work trips, leisure trips on the Sunrunner. And we also track where our riders are getting off of the bus by city. So we had about 53,000 riders get off in the city of St. Pete in January, over 11,000 get off in the city of St. Pete Beach, and nearly 4,500 in the city of South Pasadena. And so to put those into numbers, what you see for our highest ridership stops, these the number 1 and number 3 stops are our Grand Central Station. Those make up about 14,000 of our rides a month on the Sunrunner. The number 2 is that 3rd Street South and 3rd Avenue South. It's a Publix in downtown St. Petersburg where about a dozen of our bus routes come in. You can connect to most of our system. And you again kind of see those stops dispersed throughout the rest of the route. We have 4,300 riders getting off at 75th and Boca Ciega down there in St. Pete Beach, as well as 3,300 on St. Pete Beach access itself. And so what you see here is our average boardings by trip hour and by day type. So we track our ridership on regular weekdays, which we consider Monday to Thursday, because some routes have additional service on Fridays like the Sunrunner. So we have Monday to Thursday service, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the Sunrunner is has very different trends than what we normally see system-wide. Our typical routes will have peak ridership during the weekdays, Monday to Thursday. Typically, it's actually Tuesdays, partly because of the mixed hybrid work schedule. And then our regular routes typically fall off on Fridays, especially Saturdays and Sundays. And they also have their ridership profile is sort of like a camelback. You will see a peak here in the morning and then a large dip, and then another peak midday. We don't see that same kind of peak on the Sunrunner. We see really consistent usage throughout the entire day, peaking midday, but we also see the orange line here is Fridays. You can see Fridays are consistently our highest ridership day on the Sunrunner. Saturdays are our number 2 highest ridership days. And again, this is not usual to our system ridership. It's not the normal profile of our riders, but that is by nature of the service, because this service runs every 15 minutes, 7 days a week, and provides that consistent, reliable connection to all of our system. And these changes are also benefited by the Connected Community Bus Network, where now every single route on our system, except for 3, runs 7 days a week, whereas before it was about just over half of our system was running on Sundays and about 2/3 on Saturdays. Now those added connections 7 days a week mirror that consistent connection with the Sunrunner and are also helping boost that ridership. But this isn't happening by accident. As I said, we have been consistently working on improving this service, given that it is the fastest and most reliable service that we offer as an agency. In January 2025, we opened our new station at the St. Pete Pier in downtown St. Petersburg. That is one of our top ridership stops now. In January 2025, we also partnered with the city of St. Petersburg, where they pay us as an agency to run additional service on Friday and Saturday nights to extend that 15-minute frequency from 8 p.m. all the way through the end of the night, whereas normally it would be 30 minutes. So the city of St. Pete pays us to increase that service, and we've seen ridership boost because of that. Beginning in October 2025 with the Connected Community Bus Network, we launched this, we began this route at 5 in the morning, whereas previously it started at 6. However, most of our core routes start at about 5, some even start before 5 o'clock in the 4 o'clock hour. And so we mirrored this service to provide those better connections to our core routes and make it easier for riders to get around who are getting to work in those early morning hours. And with the launch of the Connected Community Bus Network, we also attempted to improve the connections on routes that were traveling across the Sunrunner and near the Sunrunner. We would intentionally create the routing where they can have that easy access to the station as opposed to maybe a 3-block walk previously. And so there's been a lot of intentional improvements and also just general growth that we've seen over the last few years. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Devin? Thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go with any other business from committee member? All right, then our next meeting is March 18th at 10:30 and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.